Hello and welcome to the sportsbet.io Euro podcast for this week. We are talking in this episode about La Liga with our good friend Juan Castro from Marca. But don't forget there is a Serie A and a Bundesliga episode available every single week on this channel, along with, and it's pertinent this week, plenty of Champions League content as well. Juan, we're going to start with the side who were in action last night in the Champions League. For transparency's sake, we're recording this on Wednesday morning, and that is Barcelona as they take on Las Palmas. Now, against that Breslois, they found it very easy, a nice 3-0 win, Juan. But in the league, the last couple of performances have not been good at all, leaving Hansi Flick reportedly utterly furious. What's been Barcelona's problem in these last couple of games?
Well, probably the problem was that the past games were too perfect. So in these two games, Real Sociedad and Celta, probably things were not so perfect. I mean, it was abnormal, the performance of Barcelona, scoring so many goals, not dropping any points. So I think the normal situation is the current one with these two holes against Real Sociedad and Celta. But is coming Las Palmas, which is an easy team, let's say, for Barcelona at home. Hopefully for Barcelona fans. So I think it's a good game for Barcelona to break these two bad games against Real and Celta.
Obviously they were comfortably ahead against Celta Vigo at one point. What was the changing factor in that game? What was it that brought Celta back into it?
Well, I think too many mistakes of the defenders. Firstly, Koundé he made a really big mistake, and secondly, very important, I think Flick just make a terrible mistake, not substituting his player with one yellow card, and then the player was sent off with a second yellow card. I think that was a Flick mistake, particularly these two mistakes, Koundé mistake and Flick mistake, make a global thing. But even considering this, I think Barcelona didn't play really well, and Flick was furious about the game, about the style, not only about the result.
Yeah, and it was not a good result, but like you say, if you want one team to visit you at this point, it's probably Las Palmas, with all due respect to them. I mean, for Las Palmas, is survival just a good season? I mean, is it as simple as that in their La Liga for them?
Yeah, they have to survive. Probably Barcelona is not their game to rescue some points. But they have recovered a lot in the last 5 games. I mean, with the coming of Diego Martinez, the new coach, they have recovered a lot of points, so they can breathe a little bit. But of course, in Barcelona, nobody asks a point for them. So if they have something, it's fine. But normally they are thinking in the next week, not the Barcelona one.
Yeah, it's a very strange one, but I think a heavy Barcelona win, if you're looking towards playing goals there, is probably still the way to go, despite a couple of bad weeks for them. Over at the Jose Zorrilla, we have, of course, got Real Valladolid taking on Atletico Madrid. That's the second game we're going to look at. Atletico won very heavily in the Champions League, midweek. On the face of it, this is a game that, again, you'd expect Diego Simeone's men to win. At the same time, they weren't brilliant against Alaves.
No, they were not brilliant, but they won. They have already 5 wins in a row, which is a lot for Atleticos considering the past. So 5 wins in a row is fine. And I think Valladolid will be the 6th. Valladolid also is another team that has to survive in this first division. Now at the bottom of the table. So it's, let's say, it will be an easy game for Atletico Madrid's side, which is now having a good performance. Maybe not playing a good football because we know with Cholo Simeone system is quite difficult, but having all the points and having a good defense. So that's the strongest points always of the Cholo Simeone's team.
And you're going to get this with a team like Atletico Madrid, where there has been they are a new look side this season. You can spin it however you want. They are a new look side. There's new names in there. There's new faces in there. And you are going to get inconsistency, aren't you, when you start to bring in lots of different players, particularly players learning the language. So you are going to get great runs, and then you're going to get runs where it's a little bit more inconsistent, aren't you?
Yes, and now they are in the consistent part of the season. I mean, it's true. You say. I mean, they sign Charlotte, they sign Julian Alvarez, Gallagher. I think even going to the forward people like Julian and Solo, I think now they are beginning to feel good inside the team. Particularly Julian Alvarez, which he has a tremendous match at Champions League. I expect not an easy game for Valladolid because this Cholo Simeone now is in the run.
Yeah, they're running along, and again, plenty of goals in that game. I think you could argue to be expected. The game of the week, in my opinion, Juan, you might disagree, is at Villarreal at La Ceramica, where we have got a belting-looking game in prospect. Villarreal, brilliant form, taking on Girona in really good form again now. Girona obviously plays Sturm Graz in Europe, so we have to wait for the result of that, factor that in once we know what's happened there. But this looks like a brilliant game to me.
Yeah, I mean, very tight. Maybe not is the biggest team in the biggest match, because here in Spain the biggest match always is Real Madrid, Barça, or Atletico. Yeah. But even considering this, it's true, very tight match, because it's the number fourth, which is Villarreal against number 7. Probably the revelation, the best. I mean, the best team. Apart from the biggest, Real Madrid, Atletico, and Barça, this season is Villarreal, and the best team last season was Girona. So, two teams who aspire to be the 4th team in Spain, and I think it's gonna be a very offensive game, very entertaining for the neutral fan, and really nice to watch.
Yeah, and with the Girona situation, we obviously, as much as they were top for as long as they were last season, there was still that feeling of inevitability that eventually a big boy would catch them, right? But I think what's really impressive about Girona is that sometimes you have these freak seasons where you do way better than anyone thought. Following it up is really, really hard. But right now, in the Champions League, they're doing okay. And in the league, they kind of are following it up, because for them, where they are in the league would be a decent finishing place, wouldn't it? So what has Michel Sanchez and what have Girona done to continue at least some level of that momentum?
Yeah, they suffer a lot in the beginning of the season because they have so many new players, and they lost so many important players, so they suffer a lot in the beginning. But now, as you say, they are recovering a lot in terms of style, in terms of game, and in terms of results. So I think if they finish 7th, it will be another successful season for them. I mean, if they arrive to Europe, that will be the 2nd historical season for Girona. So they are in the good way.
They absolutely are, and it would be amazing. I mean, also taking all that lovely Champions League cash for a year is not going to particularly be awful, is it? We'll finish with Real Madrid as they take on Getafe. Now, again, as we said, we're recording this on Wednesday morning, and there is quite a big game at Anfield on Wednesday night between Liverpool and Real Madrid, so we'll have to factor that in. But Real, 4 points off Barcelona in 2nd. Game in hand over Barcelona as well, though, so theoretically you could argue there might just be a point in terms of how the league shapes up. A good win at Leganés, a very clear win at Osasuna. It's too early, I think, to still be too over the top on Real Madrid, but at least there's been a big improvement in the last couple of games.
And they are closer to Barcelona, 4 points behind, but 1 match less because they have to play again. They have to play once against Valencia. So, theoretically, only 1 point behind Barcelona, which is quite fine, quite good, considering the situation 2 or 3 weeks ago. So now Getafe is coming to Bernabeu Stadium. It's a derby. Getafe against Real Madrid is a derby in Bernabeu Stadium, but they cannot lose so many points more in the Bernabeu Stadium. I think it will be a win for Real Madrid, but watch out with the injury of Real, because they have now 5 injuries before Liverpool game. Who knows who can play against Getafe, but Rodrigo will be out for sure. Vinicius will be out, so tremendous absence up forward for Real Madrid against Getafe.
Yeah, and I think it does tell you an awful lot, doesn't it? That in my head, and maybe just as a guy in a different country, Real Madrid have been strange all season. Barcelona have been imperious and phenomenal, and yet, like we say, it might turn out they're just a point off Barcelona, and that tells you something, perhaps about how crazy the league has been. And in terms of Getafe, like you say, it's a derby. When they're beaten by Real Madrid, they're very rarely battered by Real Madrid. That's the only other thing I would say here. They tend to lose by a goal or two. That could be that derby element, couldn't it?
Yes, I mean, Getafe is a very difficult team to beat, because Bordalas planned very difficult matches for the rival. So not many difference between Real and Getafe when they play. But well, I think in this game I predict 2 goal difference for Real. I mean, I don't think Real Madrid will be surprised by Bordalas' side in Bernabeu Stadium. If it could be in the Getafe, in the Coliseum, could be a surprise, but I don't think it will be a surprise this weekend.
No, but a low, tightish Real Madrid win might give you a bit of value. Could be a good way to look at as well. Juan, thank you as always for your fantastic expertise. We will speak to Juan ahead of the next round of La Liga fixtures. Again, don't forget to check out Serie A and Bundesliga videos on the Clubhouse TV channel, along with our Champions League, NFL. There is loads there, and you can like, you can comment, you can subscribe, of course, to the channel too. We will see you, hopefully, on one of the next videos.